Today, we're not as likely to be chased by a lion. So we don't need today to have that high red alert looking for danger aspect of our brain. So we have to try to dampen that down a little bit. And that's where mental fitness allows us to interrupt this habit of looking for danger and replacing it with a new habit.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be a fantastic one. Our guest is a professional career coach and owner of Simpler Transitions. Kerri Thompson, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Michael. I'm excited to be here.
Well, it's great to have you, and I'm excited to get into this conversation because I'm guessing that simpler transitions are a lot more enjoyable.
That is absolutely the truth. And hopefully I'll share some of the secrets of that are transferable across all kinds of transitions.
That's what I'm hoping. Well, Kerri, tell us a little bit about you, your career journey leading up to this point.
All right, I will. Well, typically there are two career journey themes. There's one where being a very straightforward path where the destination is clear to you and all who view your career. That's not my That's not my journey. I'm in the second group, the one that is more like a patchwork quilt, where you find a thread that weaves it all together, but you have to look for that thread. Sometimes it's not so obvious at different points in your career. And that's how I feel reflecting upon my career. But my journey as that patchwork quilt does actually make some sense. I have 3 degrees all in business, so undergrad, master's, and doctorate. So it was clear to me that I liked business. But what was even more important to me is that I liked diversity in my day and interaction with people. So my journey's gone from an employee to an entrepreneur through marketing, finance, operations, human resources, and today I'm helping people achieve simpler transitions, which I'm sure we'll discuss in more detail later.
Absolutely. What a great foundation for your life and your business journey to have all of that business experience and then helping people inside of these transitions. How did it end up that you would become a coach where you're doing this type of work?
I think it was through people who would watch me in action and encourage me to try something different. Sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees about ourselves, and it's wonderful to have colleagues, friends, and family who can help you identify your superpower. And for me, it really is one of helping other people, coaching, consulting, teaching.
So true. And then from your perspective in developing your own business, I always like to hear what some of the obstacles that you faced when you were building your business.
Yeah, I would say that sometimes I could overcome obstacles gracefully, and other times there was a lot of pain. I think that my biggest obstacle has typically been myself, to be honest, Michael, and the voices in my head that shake my confidence. So I'll give you an example. I was told a long time ago that I would do well in sales, but the story that I had in my head was based on the character in a book I had read in high school, and the book was called Death of a Salesman. So with a title like that, you can imagine there was not a happy ending. So I totally talked myself out of having sales be an important part of my work. And to be an entrepreneur, you have to sell yourself and you have to sell whatever it is that is your gift and what you're doing to the world and for the world. So I got over that hurdle by surrounding myself with people who are doing what I wanted to do and doing it very well. And so I could live and get some energy from their momentum. I could learn ahead of time. They would warn me about pitfalls and mistakes, and I could copy their successes. And I'll never forget the drive home after landing my first $100,000 client. That hooked me. I did it once. I really then believed I could do it again.
I love that story, and so inspirational. It's and very relevant to our listener, who I know for sure many struggle with that voice in their own head, and in this specific area of sales. It's not typical that people learn how to be salespeople or embrace that in their career journey early on. It's something that comes a lot of the times later in life. And it sounds like for you, one of the secrets of success was surrounding yourself with other people who were doing similar things, but also able to convert prospective clients into actual clients.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And so I'm really curious now too, because we often talk about people's sales style, what their sales style or their sales process is. What would you say you've discovered about your own way of selling? How do you go about selling?
The first thing I try to do is change that verb selling to helping. So if I have something to share and I share it generously, I'm not saying that I go out and share for the next 6 months with no compensation back. But if I have an idea, if I have a contact, if I have a resource, something that will help someone else, I share it easily and generously. And then that starts to build a bit of a relationship with someone else. There's this sense of trust, and there's this sense of Kerri is there. Kerri knows things. Kerri has contacts. Kerri's willing to help me. So I often can become a first point of contact for someone. And then slowly I learn a little bit more about their needs, their business. They start to see me in action in very small ways. And then often, not always, but often, if there is an opportunity for a proposal to be submitted, they'll ask me to submit my proposal for the work. Or better yet, if it's an organization that can make the choice, they'll call me and say, thanks for all your help in the past, Kerri. We have this. We know it fits within your bandwidth. Please, will you quote this business for us? We'd like to work with you. So it goes back to, Michael, that word, helping.
We'll get back to the interview right after this word from our sponsor. Is this the year you go from accountant or bookkeeper to people advisor? Gusto is on a mission to give every accountant and bookkeeper the skills and resources they need to support their clients well beyond their finances. Sure, Gusto provides an incredibly easy-to-use modern payroll system, but on top of that, you can offer integrated benefits, hiring and onboarding tools, performance management, time tracking, and so much more. And if you're saying, but I'm not qualified to talk about benefits, or I don't know how to provide HR support, Gusto offers certified people advisory training along with CPE credits for free. There's even an accelerator program that teaches you how to package and monetize these new services so you can grow your firm and increase your revenue. And get this, Gusto is so sure you're going to love their platform, they'll set you up with free payroll and HR for your own firm. Sign up today and get client HR tools, exclusive discounts, plus free payroll for your firm by going to gusto.com/The Successful Bookkeeper. That's gusto.com/The Successful Bookkeeper. Thank you for hearing from our sponsor. Now let's get back to the interview. Very interesting. And I think a lot to be gained for our listener in terms of it's about a relationship. You're demonstrating your value to people, and then they have the opportunity to choose you, which comes over time. So you're not out there looking to convert people right away. It's more of a long-term relationship from what I'm hearing.
Yes. And I think maybe the word long-term might scare somebody to think, oh, gee, I can't keep doing this for years. And that's not what has been my experience. It's not, it's not an immediate, that's true, but it could happen over just a series of conversations over a couple of months. And if you give yourself lots of those types of conversation with lots of different people, you have things ebbing and flowing and evolving at different times. Because to be quite honest, you don't want everybody to say yes to giving you business on the same day. That's actually a problem in and of itself too. How do you have the capacity to do it all? So it's like a garden. You're planting a lot of different seeds and they're all going to grow at different rates. But to keep with that analogy, don't forget to water. So if somebody doesn't call you back after you've helped them, there's nothing wrong with you picking up the phone and saying, how did it go? Did you reach out to that person, or did you have a chance to read that book? And even if the answer is no, you had a helping way of building the conversation, and then you just turn it around to say, well, what's happening in your office right now? What are some of the challenges that you're facing, or how are things going with your bookkeeping? I remember you telling me that it's your year end, December 31st. How are you working with that? You just have a way to foray into a conversation.
It's great advice, and I don't think we've often talked about it on the show. Is that recurring follow-up with people and the nurturing of it. Many people think and talk about planting seeds, and people, yes, plant seeds, but then if they're not watered, the seeds rarely do well without some form of nurturing and watering. And it makes me think of a salesperson who spoke to me. He called me every couple of months for 4 years, and eventually I bought from him. But when he called, it wasn't like, hey, are you ready to buy? He was, how's your life? How are things going? Last time we talked, you said you were working on this. Wow, that's incredible. I can't believe you accomplished that. It's great. And then it was a transition into, or do you think it's time to review what we had talked about with our product? And it's like, no, I'm not really ready. Say, hey, I'll call you back in a couple months if that's okay. And that was it for 4 years. And now, that's a very long time. I think it's an extreme example, but I think, he was treating me like a relationship. He was, interested in me. He remembered what we had talked about. I mean, obviously he's very good at what he does, but that eventually ended in a really large sale for him and a valuable sale for us at the time. Had we bought 4 years earlier, it wouldn't have been good for us. It wouldn't have been good for them. So again, it comes back to your helping. He was looking to help me. He wasn't looking to sell me.
Right.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's get more into, we kind of went on a little aside. I love hearing the story of entrepreneurs as they're growing their business, and I know our listeners do as well. Let's talk a little bit about your work. You come across people who desire change in their careers, their life, but they need to get over potentially some of the humps, the challenges that they might face doing that. What holds people back from making these transitions, that they need, but maybe aren't able to do it?
Michael, what often happens is that the person thinks the situation they're in will change. So let's say you're currently working for an employer and you would love to have your own business. But while you're working with that employer, there is something that is great. It's a steady paycheck. So you keep telling yourself or trying to convince yourself that you like the work, the people. Maybe you don't like your boss, but you keep saying, well, I'll get a new boss eventually, or maybe my boss will change. You go along and you are not happy. And what happens when you're not happy is you don't perform at your best. And that becomes a little bit of a slippery slope, that when you're not performing at your best, you start to think that that's you. you start to question, are you really capable? And when your work is driven by negative emotions, because you're not happy where you are, those negative emotions of fear or shame or guilt, they are exhausting on your health and your system and your energy. So then you've got this story going on in your mind. You sabotage yourself. You feel unhappy. You feel not capable. And what happens is the brain is very interesting. Once it starts to get a signal of information, and as I said, it's the information, this is all negative information in this example, your brain starts to look for evidence that you're right. So if you're thinking negative thoughts, the brain is looking for more negative examples to pile onto those negative thoughts so the brain can say, see, I was right. I was right. So that's why there are lots of times that people have a challenge getting over a hump. They desire change in their career, but they're kind of stuck in this vortex. So there's two things that I would suggest in that case. So one is working with those sabotaging thoughts, and I know we're going to get into that in more detail, Michael. And then the other piece to that is having a plan. So without a plan, a sequence of steps, without having some timelines attached to those sequence of steps, and without having resources to help you with those sequence of steps, whether it's a coach, whether it's a cheerleader of a friend or a colleague, whether it's someone who's done this before, you're not going to get to your destination. It's kind of like getting in the car in a major city. Let's say you're in New York City and you decide that you want to go to a certain address. Like, would you ever just get in the car and say, hey, I think I'll just drive around and I'm sure that address, that building is going to appear in front of me. Like, there's millions of streets, there's millions of stuff. Like, you just wouldn't do that. So why would you expect it with your career?
I think some men do that.
Well said. Okay. I love that, Michael. Yes. Yes.
I think I've done that.
But with your career, like what are you waiting for, right? Like ask yourself what exactly you're waiting for. Because if you're just waiting for the phone to ring for somebody to rescue you and pull you out of that job, I'm sorry, but there's very little chance of that happening.
Mm. So true. I mean, this is, if I think of our listener right now, our listener could be someone who's a bookkeeper who is looking to start their own business, or they're a bookkeeper in their own business, but they're looking, they haven't built the business of their dreams and they want to build the business of their dreams. And that's kind of similar in a way, because whether you're starting a business or you're in business and you need to take it to the next level or build it to where these are transitions that have to be made. And I mean, your example of a negative thought and then starting to look for evidence for that. I mean, I've seen people who've been in that situation for multiple years. And sometimes people just aren't ready for that change, perhaps, or, maybe it's, whatever it is that keeps them stuck without reaching out for help to someone like yourself or someone around them. They just, it's years that they will be stuck in this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so the brain's just finding evidence of why it's the truth, and that keeps them held prisoner. What has been your experience for people to actually unlock that? And even like asking someone like you for help might be difficult for them to do that.
Right. Yes. So again, if we go by that situation where the brain is looking for it to be right, so all you have to do is plant the seed of it can be right to make a call to somebody to get some help. And then you plant that seed, and then your brain starts to look for evidence that it's the right thing to do. All of a sudden, when you start talking about it, you'll hear other people say, yes, I've had a coach, or yes, I've taken that program, or yes, I've done that. It's like when you buy a new car and you think that you're the only one who has a pink Volvo, and then all of a sudden you're driving down the highway and you're like, what? There's a pink Volvo? There are many. There's the second, there's the third, there's the fourth. So you open your mind to the opportunity and the awareness, and you start to see that you're not alone. But I'd like to take you to mental fitness specifically to help answer this question for your listeners. So
Please do.
everything is driven by our brain. That's where mental fitness originates. And Michael, never before in human history have we known so much about how the brain works. So using this knowledge, which is called neuroscience, it becomes accessible to everyone, mental fitness. It's not just for doctors and scientists. And we can really look in a simple way at how the brain works to support mental fitness. We know to be stronger, to pick things up, you need to have a fitness routine to build some muscles. It's the same principle. You do exercises to build mental muscle, basically pathways in the brain that we can count on. So we all will have some challenge in our lives. And as we mentioned, the brain is, well, actually, I didn't mention this yet. The brain is wired to look for danger. That's both a blessing and a curse. So the blessing is our species has survived to this point in time because the brain is wired that way to look for danger. But today, we're not as likely to be chased by a lion. So we don't need today to have that high red alert looking for danger aspect of our brain. So we have to try to dampen that down a little bit. And that's where mental fitness allows us to interrupt this habit of looking for danger and replacing it with a new habit. Mental fitness is all about, the exercise of mental fitness is breaking off from the old habit and taking a new habit. So it's a repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
We'll get back to the interview right after this word from our partners. How many of you are making data-driven decisions about your bookkeeping business? Cinder can save you from doing manual data entry from multiple sales channels and automatically generate an accurate P&L report, balance sheet, and inventory management for your business needs. A few clicks, and you'll get access to the key metrics to find the hidden streams of income for your client's business. Use coupon code EASYBOOKS for up to 40% off from the start. And only for our listeners who click the link in the description, Cinder has prepared an actionable business checklist for your success in 2022. Excited? Get free access now on cinder.me/successful bookkeeper. That's SYNDER.me/successful bookkeeper. Are you struggling to secure the right clients? Are you frustrated that prospects are not seeing your value? Well, it's time to change that. Introducing the Convert with Value Workshop Series. It's a 2-day virtual event on March 22nd and 23rd, and for our Australian friends, March 23rd and 24th. You'll learn how to qualify and convert prospects into clients like never before. Plus, you'll discover the power of value pricing, including how to create pricing packages that truly represent your monetary worth. There will be great session leaders such as value pricing experts Ron Baker and Mark Wickersham, and Accelerate to Advisor founder Lisa Campbell. It's a workshop series you don't want to miss. So register now at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com/value. That's thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com/value. You'll be glad you did. Thank you for hearing from our partners who help make this show possible. Now, let's get back to the interview.
So would you like to do a little experiment with me of this rinse and repeat concept of mental fitness?
Absolutely.
Okay. And obviously everybody listening can do this. So again, it's an experiment. There's going to be no right or wrong. So think of something that you typically dread doing. Maybe it's calling a client to ask for a referral. Just take yourself to that moment leading up to that event. How are you feeling? Notice
I get
the
sweaty palms.
sensations. Yeah, notice the sensations in your body and your
A
thoughts.
pit in my stomach.
What are your
And
thoughts?
it quickly goes to, it's kind of a combination of things, but it's like, how will I not do this? It's like, how do I get out of this? How do I not do this? I don't want to do this. I know that it'll eventually come around that I have to do this.
So a lot of time is being used up here with this little argument in your head, right?
Oh yeah, a lot of energy. It's like, how do I get this out of my mind?
Yes,
So I don't have to think about it.
I hear you. So now with your eyes maybe open or closed, it really doesn't matter, your choice. Consciously command your mind to interrupt that pattern of thoughts, whatever it is. Because the worst enemy of any habit is to interrupt it. It loses all of its power. So now here is the mental fitness part 2. So the first part was interrupt it. Now I need you to do something. Like you've interrupted it. So I can't just leave you there going, okay, now what? So here's the now what. Rub your fingertips together. So just pay attention to the ends of your fingertips. You might even be lucky and even to feel the ridges at the ends of your fingers. And notice the sensation of rubbing your fingertips. You're consciously commanding your brain to break a pattern. You are going down that spiral of how do I avoid it? I don't want to do this. This won't be successful. I've done this before. I hate this. Now you're rubbing your fingers. So that wound up negative emotion, rub those fingers. And as you rub those fingers, you take yourself out of that fight, flight, freeze part of your brain that's trying to protect you. And you're able to switch to another part of your brain, the executive part of your brain, the creative center, where you can be more trusting. You can do higher levels of thinking. It's called your prefrontal cortex, right behind your forehead. And once you're there, you are more equipped to handle that event differently, more successfully. And that's the exercise, Michael. As simple as that.
I definitely feel a difference. I mean, it was interesting when before you started, you were telling me you were going to show me the mental fitness and I was going to interrupt it. And as I was interrupting it, it was like, I don't want a solution for this because I despise it so much. I don't want to even, it was like thinking to myself, you're going to give me a solution to do. It's like, oh, I don't like drinking sewage. Well, let me help you figure out a way to like drinking sewage. I'm like, no, I'll never like drinking sewage. And then I'm rubbing my fingers. I felt instantly better. And then my thought went to, well, why don't I just sit down and do what I need to do? And then you would just get it done and it would be done. And there's really not a big deal about it. What's the big deal? It's amazing.
It is amazing. And the thing is, it's transportable. Your fingertips are wherever you are. And it doesn't have to be your fingertips. Maybe for someone, the best thing to do is concentrate on their breath. Notice the temperature of air as you breathe in. And notice the temperature of air that you breathe out. Simple as that. What we're looking for is a pattern interrupt. Maybe for you or someone, it's tapping your toes inside your shoes. There isn't a right or wrong, but what you're doing is taking your mind away from that spiral of sabotaging thoughts, that fear, that shame, that guilt that is driving you. And maybe it would drive you to do what you didn't want to do. But at what price to your health, right? All that stress. And what price to your productivity? Because I can guarantee you didn't do it quickly, efficiently, effectively. There was a lot of churning around. So if we break the pattern, and is it easy? No, that's why there's not more people at the gym lifting some weights so that they have better back health, stronger abs, can pick up things more easily, right? It is work. I'd be lying if I told you otherwise. But if you look at it, each element of it, it's not so hard to rub your fingertips together or notice your breath. These are not hard in and of themselves. The hard part is to remember to do it. But it's never too late. So once you see yourself going down that spiral of, I don't want to do this, I'm afraid to pick up the phone, I hate sending this email. If you take yourself out of that mode, that habit in your mind, break it, interrupt it, give yourself some fresh energy and allow your brain to switch to another part of your brain that's going to be more helpful to do the activity, you're going to be more successful. And it applies universally. Michael, that's the beautiful thing about mental fitness. Once you start using it for sales call reluctance or inertia about doing a career transition, once you start practicing it there, all of a sudden you're going to be using it in your relationships with your significant other, with your family member, maybe with your children. Wherever you go, all of a sudden you're showing up differently. Yeah.
Remarkable. It's remarkable. I do have a question about the pattern interrupt. So I get that once I've identified, if I'm going down the spiral of thinking about, I don't want to have to do that, are there any other tips around how to know? Because you said just interrupt that. And I kind of did. I said in my mind, stop that thinking or, pause that thinking. I don't know what exactly I said in my mind, but is that the right way of doing it? It's like, I don't feel like once I identify that I don't want to do something. Do I just start rubbing my, because I think for me that worked. It was rubbing my fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, is it just, okay, pause that, I need to rub my fingertips, or what are the thoughts there?
Great question, Michael. So as soon as you felt in your body that it wasn't feeling great, like you could feel the anxiety, the fear, the disappointment, whatever emotional label was coming up for you, that's when you can be reminded that, okay, here I go again. And we don't want to put a lot of energy into it. Here I go again. Again, I can't believe it. I've practiced mental fitness for 2 weeks and here I go again. It's like, look at it differently. Here's a chance to practice something that is super easy and is going to build a new pathway in my brain. So look at it as an opportunity to catch yourself, interrupt what those thoughts are. Those emotions are what shows up even before the thought, the label. You felt something in your gut. You mentioned that. When that happens, that's when you can do one of these short little exercises. And for some, the exercise can be to interrupt the pattern, can take a few seconds. For someone else, maybe it's going to take a minute or two, or 3 or 4 or 5. Again, it isn't a matter of being better or worse at this, being right or wrong. The beauty is that you're interrupting the pattern, because the spiral you were going down isn't getting you anywhere. You've been there before. So stop it, break it. And the more you practice this mental fitness, the more you are aware of, call it on, I need to do one of these quick exercises. The shorter the exercise will become for you to interrupt the pattern, and the more effective it will be, and the more variety of circumstances you can use it in. Again, just think about developing a physical muscle. So we go to the gym so that, let's say our doctor said, you've got to develop some ab strength because your lower back, you're always in pain, you're always in agony. So I want you to go to the gym and start doing some sit-ups. So you dutifully do that. You do some sit-ups and you feel a little bit better. And then you say, hey, I see another piece of equipment in the gym. I think I'm going to start using that or find out what that does for me. So you do a little bit of exercise in the gym. And then somebody says to you, hey, let's go on a hike. Well, it's a different place. You're going outside, you're walking, you're hiking, you're not doing sit-ups, but you're better able to enjoy the hike. The same thing with mental fitness. Maybe you start with the one thing that's really getting you down, making a sales call, or whether it is the thought of transitioning your career from being an employee to being an entrepreneur bookkeeper. Focus on the one thing and do those exercises there again and again and again. And as you build the strength in that one lane way, I can guarantee you from personal experience and from many, many clients that all of a sudden you'll say, hey, you know what? I can use this with my teenager who triggers me and I'm screaming before I even meant to be. You can find all kinds of applications. Does that help, Michael?
It absolutely does, and it's remarkable the effect that it had immediately on the way I was feeling, which is, I mean, like you said, it's incredibly costly to be worrying about or avoiding things. It's detrimental to life and business and all things in between. And so I would say this is going to make an impact to anybody that wants to grow their business, or they're wanting to attract better clients, or they want to raise their rates and are resisting that, or hire staff. This is going to help them immensely. Now, you worked with me. You led me through that exercise, which increased its value, in my opinion. How would people work with you? What does that look like for people that are like, oh, I know this is a problem for me. I know I want to have a breakthrough in this area. How would they work with you?
So thanks for asking. So this, for those people who are curious about this work, mental fitness is the framework, but it comes under a heading called positive intelligence. And positive intelligence started as a New York Times best-selling book by Shirzad Chamine, Chamine. So anybody can find that book or Google positive intelligence and go to the website for some more specifics. Now, I have had the benefit of being certified by Shirzad Chamine, the founder of this work, and as has my colleague and business partner, Connie Kadansky. So we work with a flagship 7-week program that we take people through. Again, imagine going to the gym. The first day in the gym feels pretty awkward. It's really wonderful to have a personal trainer take you through, and week by week, you start expanding your repertoire of equipment within the gym and your strength and confidence in using that equipment. The same thing with this flagship program. Over a 7-week period, you are building new pathways in the brain. You are letting your old habits atrophy, and you're building new patterns and making them stronger and stronger, more versatile, covering a wider array of issues that you might have. So that's how we work together. And of course, how we do this is through Zoom calls. Once a week, there is a Zoom call. And the beauty of this program is technology. So it is marrying the neuroscience, the mental fitness, what we know today about the brain, and we know so much now, and technology. So you'll have a handy dandy app that has gauges on it that helps you monitor your practice and helps you also see the building of your mental fitness muscle. It keeps track of it. And you are welcome to use the app for the next 12 months, because as much as 7 weeks is going to be foundational, it's like anything else. You want to keep practicing it, and you want to make it part of your new brain operating system.
Amazing. I mean, for me, I'm thinking it's like, gee, you've got this incredible vessel called the human body, and you've got the brain in there. This is like putting in some high performance chips to improve your performance in life, get more satisfaction, grow your business, do whatever it is. I mean, it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Our brain's a computer, if you will. Well, let's program it to do some cool things for us. And that's exciting.
It is. It's super exciting. And this is all, it comes full circle. I remember very early in my career listening to Stephen Covey. Back then, it would have been cassette tapes in the car. I guess I'm dating myself here. And he said a phrase that stuck with me, and that is, between stimulus and response, there's a pause. And it's during that pause you choose your happiness. And that's what mental fitness is, Michael. You get a stimulus coming in. I need to make a call to a client. I need to make a career change. That's the stimulus coming in. And if you go with old negative habits, you might do the change with a whole lot of awful hardship or not at all. But you have a pause, and I've taught you how to do that pause, just rubbing your fingertips, tapping your toe, breathing in, breathing out, whatever little physical exercise you want to come up with, they'll all work similarly. So you have that pause, and it's in that pause you're choosing your happiness, because now you're able to respond differently. And that's what I wish for people, the ability to respond in a new way that makes them happier.
Wonderful. We will have a link where you, listener, can find out more about this amazing program. And I encourage you to do it. I mean, I think it's amazing. If we think about growing your business, what better way than to start with the programming in your mind, and then from there, who knows what's possible. Kerri, this has been absolutely wonderful. And I do want to mention that you and Connie were speakers at the Successful Bookkeeper Summit. So I imagine many of our listeners know you already. But if anyone missed that presentation, that's another resource for you. And we will have a link in the show notes where you can go and watch that presentation with Kerri and Connie. And I believe the conversation was titled How to Build Your Business with Positivity. So similar themes, probably go a lot deeper into some of the things we've talked about already today. So that's another bonus for you listening today, is go and listen to that presentation by Connie and Kerri. And Kerri, thank you for your generosity on coming onto our show and sharing us a little bit here about mental fitness and how we can transform our thoughts just by rubbing our fingertips.
There we go. It has been a pleasure, Michael, and to your bookkeepers community, I wish everybody continued success and good health.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I will just mention too as well for our listener, your website is simplertransitions.com, but of course that will be in the show notes. But just if you're listening and you want to go check this out right away, you can go to simplertransitions.com to learn more about Kerri. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.